morning, USA.
I'm here with
Jonathan Flores, and I'm here with
Michelle Barrera. Today we're going to be talking about the tragedies that have occurred in the Holocaust, focusing our attention on the concentration camp of Treblinka, getting our information from the Holocaust Encyclopedia.
In November 1941, SS and the German police authorities in the general government established a forced labor camp for Jews, known as Treblinka, later referred to as Treblinka 1. The killing center, referred to as Treblinka 2, was constructed in the summer of 1942.
It was the third killing center after Belzec and Sobibor, established by Operation Reinhard authorities. By the time the Treblinka killing center was dismantled in the fall of 1943, the camp personnel had estimated around 925,000 Jews killed.
For our next discussion, we are here to talk about the hardship Jewish faced in Treblinka. We gathered this information from the Jewish Virtual Library. Jacob Welnick, a Polish Jewish Holocaust survivor, was an influential figure in Treblinka extermination camp resistance states. The horror area was covered with bodies, and some dressed and some naked. Their faces was distorted with fear and horror. They were black and swollen. Their eyes were frozen wide open.
In continuation of his statement, their tongues hung out, brains were spattered around, and the bodies twisted. There was blood everywhere, our innocent blood, the blood of our children, our brothers and sisters, the blood of our fathers and mothers, and we are, without hope, we realize that we will not escape our fate.
This goes to show how horrific the event in the concentration camps were. Michelle and I are going to interview Jewish survivors that survived Treblinka. Excuse me, would you mind? Okay. Excuse me. Do you mind talking about the experience you had in Treblinka?
Oh, of course I wouldn't mind. My name is Richard Glazar, and I was a survivor of the Treblinka concentration camp. In this concentration camp, I was brought there, and it was a mess. It stank. There was clothes everywhere, and as Jews, we were forced to take the clothes and bundle it up to transport. There was a guardman who yelled at me, and as he yelled at me, he told me to take the clothes and carry them. I asked him a question as to where the rest of the Jews were, the ones who were stripped, and he would say, dead, all dead. But I could see in the look of his eyes a tear falling. He obviously didn't want any of this to be occurring, but unfortunately it had to. As we were talking, we saw an SS man coming, and I realized that it was no more time for questions. The man pulled out a whip, the guard, and threatened me with it as I bundled up my clothes and left. It's very unfortunate that many Jews had to die, and I'm very relieved that I wasn't one of them. I was fortunate enough to survive. But regardless, it was such a terrible experience, and I am so sorrowful for those who had to face the terrible, terrible wrath of the Nazis and more.
Thank you for telling us about this.
It's my pleasure. For our second interview, we're going to be interviewing someone who had lived in Treblinka. As I make my way. Excuse me, may I interview you on your experience in Treblinka?
Yes, you may. My name is Czesław Bora. I was a Polish peasant who lived my entire life in Treblinka. The transportation was terrible. I would hear the agonizing screams from the Jews, and my experience in living in the shadows of the camp was a nightmare. When the Germans would shoot at the Jews, my family and I had to sleep on the floor to avoid stray bullets. I felt misery and pure sadness for the Jews in Treblinka. It sounded like the gates of hell were in that camp.
I'm very sorry for your experience, but thank you for your time. You guys can see this situation or this event was very unfortunate. We learned a lot today. What would you like to add, Jonathan?
That this experience that happened in Treblinka should never happen again in the whole world. We should learn that we are a people, and that we all matter, and we should make this the last experience and learn from our mistakes.
Hopefully history does not repeat itself, and we can improve in the future to never have anything so horrific such as Treblinka ever happen again. And that is all from Michelle Barrera and
Jonathan Flores.
We will see you next time on the news.
This has been a Fox News Special Report.